Hey everyone, welcome to the debut of the Chess on Ice Curling Power Rankings. All right, every week I'm going to take a look at who's hot in the world of curling on the world stage and rank them from first to 10th. My top 10 picks in the world at the moment for both the men's and women's game every given week. So before we get into this for the first time, let's break down what my criteria are going to be for doing this little exercise every week. The most important factor is going to be recent success. So, what have you done in the last week or two? But overall performance for the season will also be a pretty big influence on the rankings. Of course, perceived strength of teams matters too. If you're a team that was very strong for years and you're coming into the season, you're going to get a little bit more weight to your results than some other teams that are up and coming. But that's going to be more a factor early in the season. I'll be doing a more results based approach as we get further along in the season and have more of a sample size to work with. Also, keep in mind teams won't be ranked until they play at least once this season. So there are some teams that are not on the rankings, but I'll mention them just so you know who we're talking about. Only because they haven't played yet, so I didn't feel like it was fair to put them in a ranking system for this year. All right, obviously, you're going to have your own opinions about who belongs on each of these lists. Be sure to leave a comment. Let everyone know who you think deserves to be at the top of the power rankings on the men's side or the women's side. So, without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to alternate which side of the rankings I start with each week. And for this week, we're going to start with the women. So, taking a look at this list, I have Anna Hasselborg 7-0 to start the year as my number one women's team in the world. They won the Oslo Cup. It's their only event so far this year. One of the stronger teams that has come back and already started playing. So hard to argue with putting them first. At number two, I've gone with Momoha Tabata's team out of Japan. They're 23-7 to start the year. They now have back-to-back wins on tour. First in the Argo Graphics Cup and then the Seville Shootout. Two big wins, especially this last week. And I think for right now, if we're doing a who's hot, they have to come in near the top of the list. So I put them in second. Just behind them at number three, though, the 11-3 rank for Xenia Schwaller out of Switzerland. They are coming off their own very strong win at the Stu Cells Oakville Tankard. I have them in front of number four, Satsuki Fujisawa's rank. They've come in as the runner-up in two straight events, both times to the Tabata rank, their country mates. So could have quite a rivalry building there between those two Japanese teams. In fifth place, Eunji Kim. The Gim rank has not won since they took down the Korean Championship. If you recall, that was held pretty early in the season, really preseason for most of us. But likely they're objectively the strongest team that started to play this year. So couldn't put them down too far, and they do have a national championship to their name already. So they come in at number five. Number six is Kayla Skrillex. They were a finalist at the Oakville Tankard, wins over some strong teams, have a solid record to start the year. Caitlin Laws takes my number seven spot. Lost in the semis in Seville. Solid performance for their first event. Their loss in the semis was to Tabata, who ended up winning the event, so very solid. Number eight, another Japanese team. The Japanese teams have been killing it on tour, as I've mentioned before. Sayaka Yoshimura's team, which is 15-4 on the year, won the Advix Cup earlier this year. Put up a very solid 3-1 record at the Oakville Tankard. Really good start of the season for them. Coming at number nine, I have Carrie Einerson's team. Just went 3-3 in Seville. Not a great event for them. Not a terrible event by any stretch. But the team is just too strong to ignore, and this early in the season, they're not going to move off the list just because they don't have a big result like some of the teams above them. And to round out the list at number 10, Kayla McMillan, 7-2 on the year. Two excellent performances, both with just one loss to start the year in two very strong events. So thought that was worthy of making the list. You can see some honorable mentions at the bottom there. Kim Rana, Kitazawa Ha, and Delaney Strauss's team. Three big teams have not played yet. We have Rachel Homan's team hasn't played yet. The Tirinzoni rink out of Switzerland has not played yet. And Chelsea Carey's team, which with Chelsea taking over the Jennifer Jones rink from last year, Also, not to take the ice yet, all these teams I believe will be playing in the next couple weeks, so we will see them joining this list if they play well at all in those events. Maybe even if they don't. Those are all 3 teams that would get top 10 consideration right away if they were playing. Moving along to the men's side of things now. My number 1 men's team to start this list is going to be Bruce Mouat. They are 18-2 to start the year, which is a heck of a record early in the season. They won the Baden Masters. They won the Euro Super Series. And yes, they took 2 losses this past weekend in Oakville. It's not enough to knock them off the top spot yet. Not with 2 early titles. Not with their pedigree. They're going to be at number 1 until someone puts together a season that dethrones them, or they struggle a bit and someone else is clearly ahead of them. Number 2, I've got Yannick Schwaller. They had a strong performance in Baden too, but then crossed the pond and won in Oakville this past weekend. So at 12-4, I've placed them at number 2 on my list. Number 3, Brad Gushue. Played their first event in Oakville, losing only to the Schwaller rink, going 4-1. And given what they've how they've performed over the last couple of years, I felt like they deserved that number 3 spot. Right behind them, Mike McEwen at 8-4. McEwen started with a bit of a tough event at the Super Series over in Europe, but came back strong, winning in Saville this past weekend. So moved them up to number 4 with their 8-4 record. Nicholas Adin is 9-3 on the year, and I have him at number 5. Simply solid so far this year. They played in Baden, they played in Oslo. Didn't win either one, but good performances in both events, and of course a pedigree like virtually no other team in the world can boast. So sticking them in at number 5 right now. Kevin Cooey at number 6, 5-1. They won 5 straight in their first event in Saville this past week. Before their first loss of the season, they lost to Kleider and got eliminated at that point. But a 5-1 record for a very strong team right out of the gate gets you on this list. Joel Returnaz out of Italy only went 3-2 in Baden. That was their first event of the year. Nothing terribly special about that. But hey, not a bad result and too strong to keep them off this list, right? I mean, it's too early in the season to be like, well, one okay event, you're off the list. No, slip them at number 7. Ross White out of Scotland, the kind of the other elite Scottish team, 13-6 start to the year. They only went 3-3 in Oakville, so they didn't end up real high on this list, but they are in the top 10 still. They had 2 strong events in Europe before last weekend, and are a team that's going to be in contention all year long. At number 9, a team that I think is really underrated, maybe under the radar for a lot of people, Mark Moskatowicz out of Germany, 15-5 to start the year. They were a finalist in Oakville this past weekend. This could be the most underrated team in Europe. I think people in North America maybe don't know them that well. You're probably going to see a lot of them this year. So I would keep an eye on this team if you want to look for a team that might be up and coming and doing some things on tour this year. Finally, at number 10, I have the Marco Hasli rink. They're 14-4. They won the Oslo Cup. And they, too, got out to a hot start in Oakville. They were 5-0 before Mustegowitz beat them in the semifinals. So another team that maybe isn't so well known, but definitely deserves to be on the list based on how they started the year. Note that Botcher and Dunstone, among other teams, have not played yet on the men's side. Again, I expect these teams to start their schedules this weekend or very soon, everyone who's on this list. And for our honorable mentions, the Carruthers rank, John Schuster's team, McDonald, Abe, Bryce, all teams that either are coming in as very strong teams or have started the year well and worthy of mention. So there you have it. That'll do it for my first ever curling power rankings. What did you think? Let us all know who you'd have at the top of your list in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon too. There's a link in the description. You get some benefits, some videos earlier than the general public if you subscribe to the Patreon as well. Thanks for watching, and good curling, everyone.